My mission is to make sure I get as many people to have 1 million Satoshis. It's all about the Satoshis. I know Bitcoin is the name, but Satoshis are going to be the thing that everybody's going to gravitate to because everybody can't afford a Bitcoin, obviously. Tariff is a tax, right? I will say that it's a tax on imports coming in, but inflation only comes from one place in America, and that's Washington, D.C., and that's the money printer. At least I know, man, when I go to work, I know that my money and my time is deflationary now, right? I can actually go to work and save, and I don't have to worry about investing and stuff like that. Saying, oh, you need to read the Bitcoin Standard, you need to listen to Michael Saylor, you need to do all that stuff. If you have a Lightning wallet on your phone and you zap them some sats, whether it's 10 sats, 20 sats or whatever, and then after a little bit, they see the quote unquote price of the fiat currency underneath the sats going up and up and up, and then you making little touch points here and there about it. Every once in a while you'll bring it up. The freedom just to do what you want and to pursue the things that make you happy in life, I think Bitcoin is going to be able to do that.
What has happened since your last been on? It's been about a year.
Yeah, I think it's been summer 2024, something like that. And I think the last time we talked, we were talking about the 2024 election, which I think was one of the most important elections ever. And I tell people that, politics are important for Bitcoin, obviously with strategic Bitcoin reserve and the Bitcoin Act, and that executive order with the strategic Bitcoin reserve was big. And if Trump didn't win, and again, this is good for the world. If Trump didn't win, imagine what would have happened. If Kamala Harris would have won, we wouldn't be having the things we have now. So we have that. And then I'm just loving the fact that more people are being aware of Bitcoin. We hit 100,000 since we talked, which a big deal. And I just can't believe the price is this low coming into all this great news, But I've started a live stream that I do Monday through Friday. I give away Satoshis with like a spin of a wheel. I do. And I also do some trivia questions and stuff like that. And my lives go from 2 to 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And then I'm still doing Satoshi Saturday. I'm up to episode 60 something. And I'm just trying to learn every day. And my mission is to make sure I get as many people to have 1 million Satoshis as I can, because I know that it's all about the Satoshis. I know Bitcoin is the name, but Satoshis are going to be the thing that everybody's going to gravitate to because everybody can't afford a Bitcoin, obviously. And I think that's just very, very important to get as many people as we can on there.
What is the meaning of 1 million Satoshi? What will that like? Why 1 million?
Well, because in the United States and maybe other countries too, to be a millionaire, that's like making it. Right? I want to be a millionaire. Want to be a millionaire. But I think with the finite supply of Satoshis in the world, I think personally it'll be more rare to be a Satoshi millionaire than it will be a fiat millionaire. So I just tell people, if you don't want to study, you don't want to do anything, that's fine. Just get to 1 million Satoshis, put them in cold storage, and wake up in 20 years and see what happens.
Awesome, man. I think that's like the you also mentioned the prices. Like, why do you think it's? Because it fascinates me when we hit the 100K and we're going through so much positive news, it boggles me that we are still so low.
I think because we look at it from our perspective, because we're in our Bitcoin bubble, we just don't understand it. But me personally, I'm loving it. I'm loving when the price goes down. As of this recording, we had that little dip down to 70 something thousand. It looked like we were decoupling a little bit from the stock market those few days when everything crashed. But over the weekend, Bitcoin went down and it's cheaper sats for everybody. But what I think is going on, Robin, I think there's a little bit of manipulation. I think there's a little bit of paper Bitcoin out there, and I think the whales are selling off at certain points and times where they can just scare the market, buy more at a lower price, and get back in. I don't have any proof of that, but again, with all this adoption going on, like how are people not buying this thing? But again, they're not in our world. And it just shows you how early we are. Every time I look at the price and I see how low it is, because this thing should be in the millions in US dollars. It should be. If we put a microchip in people's brains of everything that me and you know, Robin, at nighttime when they were sleeping, what would the price be when they woke up in the morning? Everybody would just go rushing in, right? So I just think it's cause of, like I said, maybe a little bit of manipulation, whales playing some games, some paper Bitcoin, and I think it's just because we're early to Bitcoin. It's just nobody understands. That's why I say, we have no idea how early we are on the timeline. You know what I mean? And it's just incredible to me for us to be picking up all these Satoshis at these incredible prices. It's just great.
What do you actually think is it's a really interesting thought experiment? Let's say we all have microchips in our head and we distribute the Bitcoin segment of the microchip, and everyone gets the Bitcoin upgrade over air. What do you think actually happens? Like, what, people actually waking up and the price? I don't even know what the price will be if everyone all of a sudden starts buying.
Well, whoever's got the most quote unquote fiat currency obviously will get the most. The United States of America has the world reserve currency, so we're in a pretty good, a little bit of an advantage, first mover advantage, because we have a little bit more capital because we can buy more sats per dollar. I think the euro might be up there too right now. But what I think would happen is we'd be in a world where people really understood what a supply shock is, right? I mean, when you're dealing with a finite item as Bitcoin is, and you got the United States got a couple 100,000, China's almost got a couple 100,000, Strategy's got over 500,000. The ones that are missing, Satoshi has over 1 million. There's, Howard Lutnick said he's got billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars in Bitcoin. Who knows? Max Kaiser's got a bunch. There's people that just have a bunch. And we would quickly realize that, and I said this before on one of my shows, that I think if everything was distributed evenly, with all the coins lost and everything I just said that are not moving, the Satoshis that are not moving, I think if it had to be distributed evenly, it maybe 5 to 15,000 sats per person, maybe. So again, we'd wake up with a big supply shock, and the people that already put back Bitcoin, I think they'd be very happy.
That's such an interesting thought experiment to go through what happens if people actually realized Bitcoin, because they don't. What do you think is kind of hurting adoption right now? How do you look at Bitcoin adoption?
We don't have a marketing team, and people just don't understand the problem that we have. Again, when you have a solution to something, that's what Bitcoin is a solution. When people don't know what the problem is, that's the problem with adoption. Because this thing is not going to do anything until regular folks like us buy it, right? If you walk down the street right now and ask, 1,000 people, because I live in Las Vegas, I got my little picture up here. If I walk down the Las Vegas Strip and ask 1,000 people what inflation is, I would say 850 of them or more would say prices are going up, or they don't really understand what the real answer is. And I think that's the problem with adoption. People don't know what the problem is. That's the base layer of it. The second part of the adoption is people just don't understand what Bitcoin is, because a lot of people listen to, the mainstream media, and they're not pumping out Bitcoin. I think Trump is also slowing down adoption. I made a video about that. If you want to get into that, I will. Not because, he's doing anything bad. It's just because they painted him as a bad guy for so long that anything he's attached to, they just hate it. But I just think people, when they look at the price of Bitcoin at 45,000, 85,000, 109,000, 68,000, whatever it is, I just think they think it's just too much money, and people don't understand that you can buy the little Satoshis. That's why I say Bitcoin is just a marketing name. Satoshis is the real money. So I think it's layers of it, of why the adoption is slow. But I think eventually with people like you doing your channel, doing your show every single day, and us just being out here on the streets, I think us, trying to defeat the FUD that is in the mainstream media and just showing people that they've been lied to every single day of their life, about inflation and prices going quote unquote up and stuff like that. They really understood what inflation is. I think if we teach them and they understand, I think that will definitely help Bitcoin's adoption.
It's interesting. Also the supply shock element of it. But I want to before we get into supply shock and adoption a little bit, I want to stay on the America topic because it's super interesting for me as a European to watch what's going currently on with Trump. I mean, we have now these tariffs, and I can just tell you the Europeans are very afraid of tariffs. It's like the worst thing. People in the mainstream media of Europe are talking about these tariffs as Trump would launch missiles on Europe.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And they also talk about a tariff war. They're talking about a trade war, which I'm like, it's not a war. He says tariffs. Tariffs is something normal. I might be a proponent for zero tariffs on every side, but I don't know if this ever happens. So that's a legit thing for him to do. How do you look at his politics and the influence it has on Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, I think he's doing a great job. First of all, he's only reacting to a situation that he's being put into, right? The system is obviously broken, especially the economy and the fiat system that we're in with the almost $7 trillion debt we're in. But as far as tariffs go, I don't like tariffs personally. I believe in free trade and the free market. But if somebody's willing to pay the tariffs, I think it's an open market. And I think they should be able to do that. Do I like the tariffs personally? No, I don't like any country tariffing each other. I believe in free trade where, Robin, if you make something and I like that product and I make something and you like my product, I think we should be trading back and forth. The problem is, as far as America is concerned, for decades, since 1975, the year I was born, we've been in a major trade deficit. And a tariff, just real quick, tariffs are not inflationary, okay? People think, oh, it's going to be inflationary. Yes, some products' prices will go up, but a tariff is a tax, right? I will say that. It's a tax on imports coming in. But inflation only comes from one place in America, and that's Washington, D.C., and that's the money printer. It devalues your currency. A tariff does not devalue your currency. It's just a tax on the price of the good or the good that you're buying. But I like the fact that Trump is doing the reciprocal tariffs because what he's doing, Robin, is this. He's if you ever read the book, The Art of the Deal, he talks about it in the book. And he's been talking about this for decades about the tariffs and what he'd do. He's basically saying, look, we have the biggest market in the world, the United States of America. We consume everything. I mean, we have the world reserve currency. Our GDP per capita per person is the highest in the world. China has a big economy too, but nowhere near as per person as America. I know China's a big country and has a lot more people than us, but nobody spends like us. I mean, nobody. We buy everything, we consume everything, and then we send our dollars out to get these things, right? But what the tariffs are doing to me, as far as what Trump is doing, it's a negotiation tactic. That's just what it is. He put a bunch of tariffs on a bunch of countries that didn't even have tariffs on us. Why? Because some of that stuff that China goes through, they trade through these little, the Panama Canal and different countries, and they'll try to seep through to these countries. And he said, look, you can't even go through here. Because the main thing he's doing for the tariffs, he's doing it for China. Period. End of story. It's all about China. Yeah, the other little countries here and there, we've been being fleeced by them as far as America goes. But what he's trying to do, he's trying to make a negotiation tactic to say, okay, you're charging us this, we're going to charge you that, right? Because they don't want to lose our market. Any country in the world that sells us a product, they do not want to lose access to, 70, 80, 90% of their sales coming to total coming to America. They don't want to lose that because we spend the most. So what Trump wants to do is, number one, is he wants them to drop their tariffs down to zero, like you said, so we could do that, make other deals with the country. But the main reason he's doing it is because China is the main country that tariffs us the most. They tariff us big time. And we make so much and we buy so much from China that I think he wants us to be independent, declare our independence from China. Because again, if something happens with a war or a big conflict or something and we need to make our own stuff, we don't have the ability right now to do that. So what the tariffs is doing is say, okay, we need to declare our independence from China. We need to build our own chips here instead of getting them from Taiwan. We need to build our own military stuff and everything else. But at the end of the day, we need to make and buy American products. That's what he wants to do. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with, you focus on that over there in this country. Your main thing is that product and we can't make that. That's fine. If there's zero tariffs in between. But if you're charging us 40% on every item that you're selling us, and we're not getting anything back. What Trump is trying to do is trying to make it not a trade deficit, but make it even, right? He doesn't want a surplus, right? Because we've been in a deficit with these countries. He just wants to make it even, making it fair, and most importantly, being independent from other countries. That's what I believe.
And what's your thoughts on the impact he had on Bitcoin and the strategic Bitcoin reserve around this, what they're doing, and also maybe the Loomis bill?
Okay, yeah. I think with the SBR, it wouldn't have happened without Donald Trump. Okay. Now, Donald Trump I'm going to make a video about this. Donald Trump is a lot like Bitcoin, right? He's the orange man. It's the orange coin. He's a politician, right? And Bitcoin is crypto, even though he's not really a politician and Bitcoin's not really crypto. You know, Bitcoin can't be controlled. Trump really can't be controlled. They're both kind of decentralized. They do what they want, you know, stuff like that. But when it comes to the SBR, we would not have the strategic Bitcoin reserve without Trump. That's an executive order, right? I love that fact. He has a lot of smart people around him, man. His cabinet, my goodness, is filled up with Bitcoiners. Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent, my goodness, man. He's got an A team with his cabinet, right? But the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which I like, is the fact that he separated that from the stockpile of crypto. Because remember, he made an announcement maybe a few days before he signed the executive order. And he was like, oh, we're just going to put them together. And I was like, what? You know, but he didn't do that. He signed an executive order, which, again, we have to get it passed through the bill. I mean, through the Congress, like you said, with the Bitcoin Act, with the Loomis bill. But again, without Trump, we wouldn't have that. I think Trump knows a lot about Bitcoin. I think as far as Bitcoiners are concerned, he doesn't know as much as we want him to know. But when it comes to the normies, he knows more than they think he knows. So he's kind of in between. But if you notice when he was signing it, when he was signing the strategic Bitcoin reserve, it was kind of later at night. It was just came out all of a sudden. And he was kind of real nonchalant, like, yeah, I'll do this. And this is something we want to do, right? You believe in this? He's like, okay. He's kind of half-assing it, like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like basically taking a nonchalant, like, if something happens to this, it's not really my fault. I mean, you said it. I'm not taking a lot of responsibility. And, oh, this is your little thing. Have fun with your Bitcoin. Okay, I'll sign it here. He's like really nonchalant about it. The body language was, just crazy, right? And I was just like, and I watched it over and over and over again. And Trump is he's a very, very smart guy. He knows exactly that every little word, every little movement he does is going to be recorded and going to be analyzed. So I think he did that on purpose. But as far as the Bitcoin Act is concerned, I think we need to get that up through Congress as quickly as we can. And we're going to see who's really for it, Robin. We're going to see, because again, it's not about Republicans and Democrats here in America, I don't believe. I believe it's establishment versus anti-establishment. And if you're an anti-establishment person, you're against Bitcoin. You're against freedom, right? That's why I call my show Jerry Loves Freedom, because Bitcoin is freedom money. And I believe that Donald Trump and MAGA, Make America Great Again, portion of the party, and there's some Democrats in there too, are for freedom. So we're going to see. We're going to see some Republicans that are not going to sign this bill. Obviously, probably all the Democrats are not. But in order to get this adoption going and getting us the superpower in America, we got to get as many Bitcoin as we can through the Bitcoin Act and Cynthia Lummis and Donald Trump.
That's such a fascinating topic. With adoption also, how do you look at where we are currently? I mean, people are always saying like, oh, we are at 3%, but I don't believe it. I think we are like 0.5%. Where are we currently in adoption?
I think about that often, and I've come to one conclusion. Nobody knows, number one. But number two, I think you have to break it up into different categories. When we talk about adoption, number one is how many people actually know about Bitcoin. That's the first layer. Because I've talked to a lot of people out here, Rob. When I asked them, have you ever heard of Bitcoin? If I asked 1,000 people, I'd say 850 of them heard of Bitcoin, right? Now, out of those 850 or more that heard about Bitcoin, if I ask them, what is it? What is Bitcoin? A lot of them will say a stock. Some of them will say a cryptocurrency. Someone will say, I don't know, but I know it's some kind of internet money or something. They'll have some kind of clue of what it is. Now, out of those people that actually kind of know what it is, then you got to say, okay, what is it really? And you break it down like that. And for those that really, really understand it, and then you got to, break it down into that little group. Then you look at that group and say, okay, well, how many of you guys that really know what it is own Bitcoin, right? And then they'll say, oh, I own it, or oh, I had a little bit, or oh, I had some and I sold it, or whatever. And then you got to shrink them down again. Then once you get to that group to have it, say, okay, you have it. Where are you storing it at? How long have you had it? What's your knowledge on it, right? What's your plan on selling it? What you're doing? And then they'll say, oh, I got it on Coinbase, or I got it on there. And say, okay, take those people away. And the people that have it actually on cold storage, put away, locked away, say, okay, well, what's your plan for it? And some people, believe it or not, even that have it on cold storage, will say, oh, I bought it at 100. It's at 80, it's 79 now. So I'm waiting for it to go back to 100 so I can sell it and break even. You're like, what? Right? Literally, I've talked to people like that. Then you kind of get rid of them. And then you get down to people like me and you that got it, knowing that they're going to keep it forever and stuff like that. So with that being said, like you said, Robin, I think it's less than 0.5% of people like that. So my goal on my channel and my life is to make sure we get as many people like me and you to fully understand it, keep it away in cold storage, and to never sell it, like Donald Trump and Michael Saylor says.
Yeah, we are the social layer of Bitcoin. We are the protectors of Bitcoin. We are that hardcore that won't back off, and we are the annoying crowd that always keeps pushing. Oh, you need self custody. Oh, you need full node. You need that. You should do that. And it's sometimes hard to be in that position of where you are always the pusher and the toxic maxi, basically trying to get the Bitcoin story around. But it's very important that Bitcoin that we have that hardcore Bitcoiner crowd. And there's Jeff Puffer, because I asked him actually how many people do we need to run their own full node? How many people do we need that have a Bitcoin mining operation, solo mining with Ocean, stuff like that? And he said in a network there's always 2% that you cannot pay off. There's like 2% that no matter how much you give them, they won't change their principles. 98%, they will change the principles if you pay a certain amount. And I think we have to be that hard layer of Bitcoin, that hardcore layer that says, if BlackRock comes to you and says, oh, here's $1 million, but please now talk about that on your podcast, you say no. Because you believe more in Bitcoin than you believe in whatever this $1 million gives you. So your opinion and your stance are not for sale, which is a really hard thing. And then I think there are not a lot of people that would do that.
Very small percentage, yeah. And again, that's where we're at. But it takes like Bitcoin's main layer of learning is it's proof of work, right? And it takes time to get there. When I first started, I started in February of 2021. I started as a precious metal stacker. And I had learned in the summer of 2020, when I first got into precious metals, that the money was broken and gold and silver were the way, I thought, because I had no idea what quote unquote cryptocurrency was. And it took me months and months of studying to not only unlearn what I've been taught for the first 45 years of my life, because that's what you have to do. In order to learn something, you have to first get rid of what you learned and get rid of the bad ideas to put in a new idea, right? So I learned what inflation was. I learned what real money was. I learned what the difference between money and currency and stuff like that was. And my conviction grew. But once I got into Bitcoin and I learned about it, it took me a few years, actually over 2 years, to finally realize that even though I loved gold and silver and it was great, I had to sell it and get rid of it and I put it all into Bitcoin. And that takes time, right? So people have to understand that when you see someone like me and you at the stage that we're at, man, that person really put, how many hours have you put in, Robin? Hundreds, thousands, right? Even just with this podcast alone, I can't tell you how many hours I put in, not only studying it, reading about it, listening to the podcast, but actually trying to teach others, talk about it, thinking about it. So it's crazy. So yeah, for me, it's all about that proof of work and the time put in to get there. You know, when you go to the gym and you see a guy, whatever stage they're at, you see this really big muscular guy, you know that that's proof of work. He didn't cheat that process. You know, he had to, you know, I'm not besides steroids, but people that are really in the gym, you know, that took them years to get where they're at. It's not about how many Satoshis you have stocked up in a stockpile, because you can get a multimillionaire that heard about this Bitcoin thing. 'Cause I actually know a guy like that. Kind of orange pilled him. He just bought a bunch of Satoshis. But again, he doesn't have the conviction and he doesn't know what we know. So again, it's at the end of the day, to get to where we're at, we got to put the work in, and it's all about the proof of work. It really is.
You need the reps to really understand what this is about. And yeah, I've never thought about it, how many hours of learning I put into Bitcoin. I mean, the podcast alone is around 500 hours. So, and I was in Bitcoin 4 years before I even started the podcast. And I did Twitter, daily, for a year before I started the podcast. And I listened to so many and I read books and stuff like that. So I'm probably above 1,000 hours at this point.
Yeah.
But this is kind of crazy to think that you put like so much hours into studying one thing, but then this is the way of you becoming actually really good. How do you think about in America, of the transition of the US dollar to a Bitcoin standard?
Well, what I would like us to do, and I don't think it would happen in this presidential / Epoch 5 Bitcoin cycle, because it's crazy that they go together, and I don't think that was on accident. I really don't. Is this? I would like, my dream would be the United States to pick up as many Satoshis as we can for this next epoch or next presidential Trump's last run this cycle. Get as many as we can in the strategic reserve through the Bitcoin Act, and then once 2029 starts, when maybe JD Vance or whoever is in office, because he's a Bitcoiner as well, I would like to set a new US dollar based on a Satoshi, right? And this is my dream. I would love to run a whole new dollar for one Satoshi equals $1. Okay, I know that sounds crazy right now, but move the decimal points back on Bitcoin to two decimal points back. Make 100 micro or fractal or fractional Satoshis in every Satoshi, 100 units, like 100 pennies, and then issue the new dollars backed by every Satoshi in the cold storage of basically America's, Bitcoin vault, right? And so everybody can see what we have, and then reprice it like that, and then have it become the American dollar backed by Satoshi, and then have it, written down on there what it is. Every dollar is backed by Satoshis or whatever, and we can only issue more of those dollars based on how many Satoshis we have in the vault. And I think that's the way to go in the future. Now, will that happen? I don't know. It may happen in the second cycle, maybe Epoch 7, maybe, or JD Vance's second term. But that would be my dream. One sat equals $1. Bring the decimal point back twice, and then even the people that don't buy early like us, because a lot of people are not going to do it, Robin. They're just not going to do it. But at the least, what they can do is they can work, and everything, number one, is going to get cheaper over the months and the years and the decades. That's number one. But number two, they can actually not invest anymore, right? They don't have to invest, because all investing is just keeping up with the money supply. If you look at the S&P and all this other stuff, to me, it's just a scam. It's just correlated with the money supply. As it, quote unquote, goes up, it's going up with the money supply, but the dollars that it's going up in are losing purchasing power. It's just what it is. So I think it would take a lot of energy and money out of the investment portfolios of real estate and stock market and everything else, and it'll put it back in the hands of the people, and people can literally have a checking account with Satoshis to pay their bills, and then they can have a savings account with Satoshis and pay their bills, and not have to worry about investment. Just put the extra surplus away into a savings account with Satoshis, and not only not have to invest, like I said before, ever again, but now they can save and keep their purchasing power, and also increase their purchasing power over the years using Satoshis.
And this is a thing that a lot of people actually don't get. The world on a Bitcoin standard is getting so much better, even for the last person that is transitioning from fiat to Bitcoin, that it, even for the last person, it has so many advantages, it's still worthwhile. Obviously, if you are in the first 100,000 people, you will benefit a lot more than the last person. That's just natural. The person that first used the printing press is benefiting a lot more than the last person that printed a book. The first person that used the internet is way better equipped than the last person is using internet with electricity. We have now countries that don't have electricity. We have countries that have electricity. Those with electricity are way better equipped to. They have a way big advantage for those who don't have electricity, internet, or Bitcoin. And it's kind of that meme of you show up with a gun to a fist fight, you will win the fight. If you show up to any financial tooling, rivalry, anything that you're like, let's fight. If you show up with Bitcoin and the other ones have fiat and the other ones have any stocks or any other assets, you will win. You have the better tool for money. So even the last person benefits from Bitcoin. And I think that's something people struggle with because they think only the OGs, only the whales, only the early people benefit. No, everyone benefits. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense.
Yes, exactly. And again, going to work and trading your time for your energy, for money, that's what energy is, and that's what money is crucial for people to understand, because if we do go on a Bitcoin standard like I dream of, then people will understand through osmosis, just by getting Bitcoin and learning about it. They'll know that this whole time they've been lied to, right? And they'll know that this is the way. So even though I'm not early and my friend told me about Bitcoin and I'm not a multi Satoshi millionaire like him and I didn't listen, at least I know, man, when I go to work, I know that my money and my time is deflationary now, right? I can actually go to work and save, and I don't have to worry about investing and stuff like that. Because again, most people on the planet are not going to have a bunch of Bitcoin. Just like when Apple stock came out or Amazon came out, most people didn't take advantage. It's the first mover advantage. But at the same time, I didn't get into Amazon early, but I have an Amazon Prime account and I use it and I like it. Right. And it helps me. It saves me so much time and energy not to have to walk into the store. I can literally just go on, click on, and boom, I can get my stuff within that day sometimes. So I think this new system that we're going to go in, we're going to go to it no matter what. The sooner the better, hopefully. But I think definitely, like you said, it definitely helps people out. And even though they don't have the first mover's advantage, they'll still help them in their life when it comes to saving.
Let's take a break for a moment and appreciate the beauty that Coin Vigilante has made with the Bitcoin watches. Those watches are the most amazing, the most elegant way of showing that you are a true Bitcoiner. And Coin Vigilante just dropped a completely new and amazing Genesis edition of their watch collections. You have the date of the first ever mined Bitcoin block in there, and of course also the block height and which epoch we are currently in. I love the level of detail they put in this masterpiece. Make sure to check out those amazing Coin Vigilante timepieces down in the descriptions. I love those watches so much. And now if you have Bitcoin, I really do hope that you don't have it on exchange. But if you do have it on exchange, I have two ways for you to deal with that. The first way is you put it on a hardware wallet. That's the entry for you to get into the self-custody game. I recommend BitBox, Bitcoin only edition, for that. It's a super simple and secure way. And if you check out the link in the description, you even get 5% off if you use the code Robin. And the second way is the Bitcoin Way. The Bitcoin Way is your all-in partner in terms of how to get the most out of your your sovereignty. They will personalize for you a self-custody setup that is perfect for your individual situation. They will show you how you can secure your own devices. Securing your Bitcoin is not enough. You also have to keep all your devices secure. One topic that is overlooked often is the inheritance plan. What happens with your Bitcoin once you are no longer here? Do you have a plan for that in place already? And last but not least, if you're in the jurisdictions where you don't feel safe, it's better to get a plan B. For all that, head over to thebitcoinway.com/Robin to get a 30-minute free call. And just a quick side note, I will be for the first time ever speaking at the Bitcoin Prague event in June. It will be absolutely legendary, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you there. You can get your ticket in the link down in the description of Bitcoin Prague, and very important, use code Robin to get 10% off your ticket. I'm really looking forward seeing you there. Why do you think it's important that America is stacking Bitcoin? There's this notion of, do we even want governments to stack Bitcoin?
Yeah, and that's the question, right? We want it to be decentralized. Forget the governments. The governments are bad. I think with Trump being in office, I think he's kind of changing the guard when it comes to government, because people think that Trump is, the mainstream media will say he's a fascist, he's Hitler and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, what he's trying to do is he's trying to make the government smaller, right? And he's trying to put the power down from the federal down to the state. That's what he's trying to do. That's why he's trying to get rid of a lot of things in the federal government, the bloated stuff. But when it comes to Bitcoin, we have states already trying to get a Bitcoin strategic reserve or a Bitcoin act put through the states. So I think it's good for the federal government to have it, because, again, we want to be on that Bitcoin standard through control of our own self, because, again, the government doesn't control our lives. They work for us and we don't work for them. And I think Donald Trump, just by buying Bitcoin and putting it on the balance sheet alone, is saying that, hey, we're working for you, right? Because Bitcoin is freedom money. If he was trying to control us, he would not be buying Bitcoin, right? He's using the crypto, quote unquote, stockpile as, hey, we already have it. We're not going to buy anymore. If we compensate it, we'll put it in there. That's a whole nother kind of like a little investment. But I think Bitcoin, with Donald Trump and what his plan is, he's trying to make a freedom money. I think he's trying to give the power back to the people. So I think it's good for America to do that. But also I think America, I'm a proud American saying this, I just think we're the leader, right? We have the biggest economy. We have, I think, the most famous people in the world. We're kind of like a trendsetters around the world. Everywhere I've been overseas, I can hear our music playing in people's cars. I can watch movies from our actors and actresses and stuff like that, and I see that. But culturally speaking, America is kind of the leader, where when we do something because it's cool, everybody else will follow. So I think Donald Trump being in office, again, signing that executive order for the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and then hopefully this summer we can get the Bitcoin Act up, and then we start really buying it. I think it's great for governments to have it, because, again, I hate to say this, but I'm not a big democracy guy when it comes to some countries. I believe some countries should have some monarchs, right? America is in an experiment. We're only 248 years old, to be 249 this year. And for us to have all this diplomacy and, being a constitutional republic and voting for our people in office by democratic or democracy, I think that's great. And I think it'll show other countries you can do that as well, right? You can vote for the money you want, because once people in these countries start buying Bitcoin after the arms race happens with America and other countries following suit, other people can go, wait a minute, Belgium might say, well, we have this much Bitcoin. Well, I want to use that Bitcoin too. I want to buy some of that Bitcoin too. I want us to be on a Bitcoin standard too. So I think with America leading the way, not only will it help its own people, its own citizens, but I think the arms race of Bitcoin adoption will start. And I think us being at the forefront, being the leader of the free world, will help Bitcoin's adoption immensely.
And it's super interesting that you mentioned that, because I think the USA has a lot of power because of the money printer.
Yeah.
This is a big reason, and you are totally right. I watch. I think every sitcom, every show that I watch is an American. I think that there's not one European one in there. It's so fascinating to think about that. And yeah, the music a little bit less. There's a lot of good music also coming from in Europe that I see and hear, but there's a lot of American music also coming in. With show and movies, I think it's very dominant American, and this influences a lot of culture. This comes through. But the bigger part for me is the money. There are currently, 67 countries that only use the US dollar that aren't the United States.
Wow.
United States themselves, like El Salvador did before, and now they still. If we're honest, they're still on the US dollar standard. Most of them use the US dollar. The balance sheet of El Salvador might have some Bitcoin, but if you actually look at what they have and how many Bitcoin they have, they're mostly still on the US dollar standard, even though they're slowly trying to be independent from that. And there are a lot of countries that have that. So the ability from America to export inflation to other countries and import the power to them is fascinating, which brings up the question of how do you think the USA will change on a Bitcoin standard or on the transitioning to a Bitcoin standard? And this might also be the reason if Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump, and all those Vivek Ramaswamy, all the people that are in the administration actually get that. I have no clue if they actually get that. But if they actually get that, then it makes a lot of sense why they are buying Bitcoin.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think they get it. Vivek Ramaswamy was at a couple of Bitcoin conferences. But how I think it would change things, obviously for the better. I think this version of the Democratic Party in America would be destroyed because they are so against freedom. They're so against America and they're so against Bitcoin that they would have to change. When I say destroyed, I don't mean like something bad's going to happen to them or the Democrat Party is going to fall apart. I'm just saying they'd have to go back to the old way of the Democratic Party. I don't really like the two-party system, but it is what it is. It's going to be this way. But I think what will happen is the MAGA portion of the Republican Party will be its own entity and be stronger. And then I think the Democrat Party would have to go back to like a John F. Kennedy type of party, right? Where they're just, they have a little bit of different ideals than the Republicans, but they'd have to adopt Bitcoin. They just have to. You can't be a party in America if we become the Bitcoin, world leader and we have a strategic Bitcoin reserve and, we're on a Bitcoin standard here in America. You can't be against that because once people see it, you can't unsee it. Jor from 88 Sats Radio has a great quote, great saying. He says, once that green light is turned on, you can't turn it off. Meaning once you understand Bitcoin and you really understand it and that green light comes on, you can't unsee it. Just like when you find out, the food pyramid was a lie, or you find out all the mainstream media lied to you, or whatever kind of lie you figured out and what you found out the truth was, you're like, wait a minute, you're going to look back and say, this whole time, these Democrats or whoever were lying to me, right? So it would change that way. I think the parties would be closer aligned. They'd have to all be on board with Bitcoin. They may have little different things that they argue about, but as far as Bitcoin goes, there's be too many citizens that don't understand it, right? And you can't change that. Now, as far as the citizens will go, like I said earlier, it'll be great for everybody. I mean, the U.S. dollar, if it doesn't go to the way I want it to, like Satoshi's, backed by, the dollar's backed by Satoshi's, I believe it'll probably be the end of fiat currency if that's the case. And people will be it'd be a euphoria, man. It would be just so great. That's just my dream, man. You're making me feel so good even thinking about that because my mission, Robin, I'm just on a mission and I advise every single one of you guys to watch this. Every single one of your family, friends, anybody that doesn't understand Bitcoin, make sure you help them get as much as they can. We'll probably leave that to the end of the video. But again, I just think the world and our country in particular would be great on a Bitcoin standard. I think it would just be the changes would be outstanding. And I don't think there'd be any kind of conflicts or anything like that. I just think it would be great, really.
Absolutely. What do you mean by helping them to get more Bitcoin? Is like because it's a hard time to orange pill your friends and families. I've noticed actually that I completely stepped away and don't want to actively orange pill because everyone knows I'm the Bitcoin podcaster, and if they have questions, they actually come to me. And I've noticed the more time I spend with people, the more Bitcoin they have. But I don't orange pill anymore.
Yes.
It's just when they're around me and they see how Bitcoin improved my life and impacted my life, they're like, maybe I should get some. Maybe I should ask Robin, like, why Bitcoin? And the people that don't spend that much time with me in the family, because I have a freaking huge family.
Yeah.
So I have people in there that I just see once a year or like twice a year, something like that. They don't spend a lot of time with me. So having that comparison of a cousin of mine that even works with me on the channel, he is really big on Bitcoin and he understands the community and he's really great. And he's young also, he's around 20. But then there are outside cousins, uncles, aunts that I've not seen for a year. They're asking me then at Christmas Eve, oh, but it uses too much energy, right? And it's really hard for me not to laugh at that question. Like it's almost now hard for me to stay serious if someone tells me this, because it's so outlandish for me to have that. But it's really hard. It's easy to. It's really important that we orange pill those people. So how do you look at that, and what do you mean with like getting more Bitcoin?
Yeah. Well, with me personally, I have a YouTube channel. So I do daily spins and give away Satoshis, invite my family and friends to come on there. But if you're just a regular pleb and you don't have a YouTube channel like me and Robin or something like that, there's different ways to do it. You can actually just buy them some Satoshis, right? If you just make a list of the most important people in your life, in the world, right? Your mom, your dad, your daughter, your kid, whoever, right? Put them all down on the list, in order, friends, family, whatever. And then if you want to set aside, start off with maybe 100 Satoshis or 1,000 Satoshis or 10,000, whatever it's good for you, put it away in, different maybe UTXOs or Lightning wallets or something like that. You can do that if they just completely refuse everything you're talking about, those people, right? But what I do in my personal life outside of YouTube is I have a Lightning wallet downloaded on my phone. I have them download it on their phone, and then I zap them some sats, right? Now, again, saying, oh, you need to read the Bitcoin Standard, you need to listen to Michael Saylor, you need to do all that stuff. That doesn't work. But if you have a Lightning wallet on your phone and you zap them some sats, whether it's 10 sats, 20 sats or whatever, and then after a little bit, they see the quote unquote price of the fiat currency underneath of the sats going up and up and up. And then you making little touch points here and there about it. Every once in a while, you'll bring it up every once in a while. Again, depending on the person, each one. I've noticed that when people have skin in the game, and I tell them, hey, don't do nothing with this. Don't delete the app. Don't sell it. Make sure you give them that caveat. But once they have a little bit of skin on the game, and every time you see them, again, you don't see them that much, just zap them something. Or over the phone, say, hey, how you doing? Were you talking to them? Have a regular conversation. Don't bring up Bitcoin. Zap them 20 sats or something. It's just, again, it's all about them having some kind of skin in the game, because you're always going to be more interested in what the price is something if you have it versus not having it. And that's just me personally, what I do. I don't really have all the answers to that, but me personally, that's what I do. But again, if these people just refuse to download a wallet or refuse to do that, I'll just, I have literally Satoshis put away for the people that I love that just absolutely don't like Bitcoin, but they love me and I love them. And I'm not going to love them and, not look at them the same because they don't have the same conviction of Bitcoin as me. I still love them. So I'll just say, okay, let me give my mom 100,000 sats. She'll be fine. She doesn't want to listen because, sometimes the older you get, especially, the boomers, they just don't want to hear it. So that's what I do. I just have them download a wallet, zap them some Satoshis, and if I love them really, really a lot and they don't want to listen to me, I'll just put some UTXOs away for them.
Stack for your family. I love that message. Like stack for your loved ones that might not get Bitcoin, just in case it catches on too much and they don't catch on it too much.
Yes. I love this, man. I just wake up every day, Robin. I look at the price. I say, wow, nobody still knows about this thing. I look at the mempool. I see blocks still coming out. I say, nobody stopped it. And I'm just like, what would I do if I didn't have this? Like, it literally sucks you into this black hole that you're just like, wow, man, I just want to help as many people as I can, starting with myself first, because we are the center of the universe, right? We in the world, and everything starts with you. And so once I have to learn as much as I can and be that, be the Bitcoin guy or be the Bitcoin gal or whatever, to be that person where people can come to me and say, well, I have a question. Can you answer it for me? And I try my best to do that. And if I can't, I'll look it up. But at the same time, I'm just like, I got to get as many people into this that I love and care about as humanly possible. And it's just like, if you really truly love your family members, which all of you guys do, then again, get them as many Satoshis as you can humanly possible, but make sure you have as many as you can, learn as much as you can, and take care of your family in the future. I just love it.
What a beautiful message. And you're right. That would have been a great ending point, but I do have two more topics. Sure. I would love to go over with you. The one thing with strategic Bitcoin reserve is the game theory of it. We now discussed what's going on in America. What do you expect from that move, as America is highly watched, like every secret service agency in all of the world, in every country, is watching what the president of the United States is saying. They're not stupid. They're watching what America is doing. They're watching every executive orders, even though it has been, I think, over 100 executive orders, but they are listening, like they're seeing all the executive orders and seeing what implication does that has. So what do you think does that has for ripple effects throughout the world?
Well, like I said earlier, I think it'll be an arms race, because there's a lot of smart people around the world. And I think every country has some major Bitcoiners like yourself and your country. Like if you got a call from I don't know if it's a president or prime minister or something like that, and they said, oh, I'm gonna look at this guy in my country. Oh, he knows. And they brought you in. I mean, they would get so much knowledge from you. You'd be like, listen, this is what we need to do. We need to have our own strategic Bitcoin reserve. I think the arms race would be on, as far as not only learning as much as they could about what this Bitcoin thing is and bringing the most smartest team in, but to getting as much as they can. Again, I think they'd all be fighting for the number 2 or 3 or 4 spot, because I think America would be number 1, obviously, but I think China would be buying a lot too. So I think, again, you're going to have some totalitarian countries that have, nefarious actors that have, central bank digital currencies already, with China and the spy stuff and the what is that called when they watch you on Facebook and they don't, all that stuff that they do, right? And social credit scores, and you can't do this, and you can't buy this amount of meat, or you can't go on this trip because you did this or did that. I think those countries would suffer a little bit, because again, when you have leaders like that, I don't think they'll let the Bitcoin trickle down to the people like America and some free countries will. But those countries would keep it on their balance sheet just to have power and control over the world as much as they could, as an arms race. Because again, once Bitcoin becomes mainstream, you have to have it. I mean, you just do. So I think with America passing the strategic Bitcoin reserve, because like we said, America is the trendsetter. You can ask every person in the world, who's the president of the United States, and pretty much everybody could tell you who's the president of the United States. But if you ask them who's the leader of Australia, I don't know the leader of Australia. A lot of people don't. So again, with the name Donald Trump buying it, and then America buying it, I think not only it'll be an arms race where everybody will be getting it, but I think the world would change tremendously. And let's just say the Bitcoin price will go up very, very fast.
I think we have very exciting times ahead, to say the least. Is there actually something you would like to improve on Bitcoin, not just on a technical level, but also like community, something that you've looked at that you're like concerned about, or something that you would say like, oh, we have some potential there?
Oh, good question. Community wise, I would like more of us to be to do better marketing. I think even if the marketing was perfect, I still would always want to improve it. But I just think we need to have people out there talking about it more, um, making it simpler to understand, and to just really, again, I don't have a lot of complaints. That's a good question, but I love our community. It's definitely it's a hard thing to learn, but I think the main thing is we need people out there to teach people what inflation is and what our money system is and is broken. So I think our community can do better. Again, I think we're doing a great job, but as small as our community is, because we're a niche community, we're very, very small in the big picture. It's hard to imagine that because we're in this little bubble that we're in, and all we listen to is Bitcoiners, and but once you go out in the street and you realize that nobody knows about this thing, I just try to do the best that I can personally, as one individual, to do the best I can to not only teach people about inflation, show Bitcoin is the solution, but also just try to wake people up to the lies, man. So if I had to do something, I'd want people to wear shirts like this.
I love that. What is it? I will just read it for the people that are just listening. Things I do in my spare time. And it's like, watch Bitcoin trends, think about Bitcoin, talk about Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, look at Bitcoin. What is the last one? I cannot read that. Research Bitcoin. Oh, I love that. I love that shirt.
Thank you. So I wear stuff like this all the time. And I think, because a lot of Bitcoiners, and this is another thing. A lot of Bitcoiners, which I don't like, and it's a personal choice, but a lot of Bitcoiners want to remain anonymous. And I just don't like that. Right. Just one of my pet peeves. And I get it because, again, whether you know this or not, we're going to be some of the richest people in the world. We just are. Right. If you got 1 million Satoshis, you're one of the richest people in the world. So I get it. You want to stay private. You don't want to help. You might talk to a few peoples here and there, but I think we should be branding this, because if we want it to be, we want a Bitcoin standard, and we want to be a global reserve currency, because it is a currency. It's a peer-to-peer digital currency. We got to get out here and talk to more people. So don't be afraid. Use your skill set, whatever God gave you, right? Because everybody has a skill. I can talk a little bit. I can't fix a car, but I can talk a little bit. And just get out here, use your skill set, tell people, as many people as you can, not only what the problem is, but Bitcoin is a solution, and just be a mouthpiece. That's what I think.
I actually don't know if we talked about it in the last episode, but how did Bitcoin actually impact your life, transform your life? I think that might be interesting.
Yes, it changed my life, where it gave me a purpose, where I am trying to change the world to fix the money. It's absolutely consumed me. I wake up every day thinking about it. All day long I'm thinking about it, and I go to bed thinking about it. I don't sleep well, not because I'm not, very, very happy and I worry about things. I just can't sleep well because I'm just so excited. So it's changed my life in so many positive ways. I'm 50 years old right now, and what it's done for me, Robin, is made me look at things in 4-year cycles, in 4-year periods. I don't look at things in 1 year. I look at things in 4 years now. And my goal is to live to be 125 years old. And I plan to use some Satoshis. Yes, I plan to use some Satoshis to help extend my life. Because, again, it's not about how long you've been here. It's about how much time you have left. And it's helped me by eating better, thinking about longevity, going to the gym, taking care of my body, and being here. Everybody wants to live long. But when it comes to Bitcoin, for me, it just makes me think like, man, I want to see this thing play out. And, there's 21 million Bitcoin, and I want to live to the year 2100. Because I was born 1975. The year 2100, I'd be 125. And I've been looking that up, and there are people that have lived that long. And I believe there's going to be technology because of Bitcoin, and everything's going to be better, and furniture is going to be better. It's just going to be higher quality things. I believe because of the fiat food we eat, if we get on a Bitcoin standard, not only will it give us better food, get off the medications and the pharmaceuticals, but it'll help us live a better life. And I just think everybody be more healthier. The longevity will be better. So for me, it's just completely changed in a positive way every aspect of my life, and I'm just so grateful and thankful for Satoshi Nakamoto.
I love that. And your channel is called Jerry Loves Freedom, and I'm really curious on that note of how Bitcoin impacted your life. How do you define freedom?
Good question. Freedom is the ability to do what you want when you want without interference from anyone else. You should be a free thinker. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in when we wrote the Declaration of Independence in America, the Constitution, I believe in a free market and trade. I believe in a free government to let you do what you want to do. The freedom of the pursuit of life, liberty, and then, pursuit of happiness. Just to do what you want within the laws, right? There's laws that we have to go by, not infringe on anybody else, hurt anybody else. But I believe that you should be able to buy what you want without somebody telling you what you want to do. Be able to go visit your neighbor when you want to. Go overseas. I can go to your house and visit you. Less friction in the way, right? I should be able to eat the foods that I want to. No restriction on us whatsoever. And just being a sovereign person. There was slavery back in the days, and me being an African American, I remember learning about that in school, about, slavery and stuff like that. And I was always thinking like, man, what would I have done if I was back then? Would I've been living in the house with the masters, or would I've been in the field? I'd said I wouldn't be either. I'd be trying to escape and get free. And, speaking of slavery, this system we're in is slavery. And to break free of this, there's only one way to do it, and that's Bitcoin. And I say that in all my videos. I always say the best way to save and the only way to save, and that's Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, to me, is the ultimate form of freedom. It is. And I could say Jerry loves freedom. I mean, Jerry loves Bitcoin. On my show, I could call it that easily. But I don't love freedom because I love Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin because I love freedom. And I think it's all about that. And the pursuit of that for me, even when I was sitting in a classroom, I would always want to get up and walk away. And, when I was working at a job, I didn't like sitting at a cubicle. I like to move around. So the freedom just to do what you want and to pursue the things that make you happy in life, I think Bitcoin is going to be able to do that. With the AIs coming out and everything else, I think it'll just give you time, that limited time that you have on this planet, to be free to do whatever you want. So for me personally, freedom is very, very important. And that's what my channel is all about.
I love that. I really do love that. And you embody that so much. And I just want to add to that, because it's so great. Also, as you said, within the laws, I'm a big believer in your freedom extends as far as it doesn't interfere with someone else's freedom. And if you then look at what the fiat system is doing, where they are extending their own freedom, the central banks are extending their own freedom to print as much money, but it is impacting someone else's freedom because they are stealing the purchasing power from the people that save in that currency. And then in that sense, because they're stealing purchasing power is money is energy and time. In that way, yes, everyone that holds fiat currency, I don't know if it is accurate to say that, but I think so. Everyone that holds that could be considered a fiat slave, because someone else is stealing their time.
Exactly.
So
what it is.
I'm not a historian. I have probably not a good understanding of slavery and the history there. But from what I understand, what the definition of a slave is, I would consider that a slave.
Yes. Yeah. And exactly. That's exactly what it is. And Harriet Tubman, she's an American black woman. She escaped slavery, but she went back and risked her life for the other slaves. And she did the Underground Railroads, and she went down there. And again, she was free, but she said, you know what, I'm going to reach back and help the other people. And I think, I don't want to call myself the modern day Harriet Tubman, but I think us Bitcoiners are kind of like that. We know that we're free now, even though we're still in the system, right? But we know that Bitcoin is going to free us of that, of the fiat system, the broken system, and we're saving outside of that system with Bitcoin. But I believe in, if I was back in the 1800s or 1700s, that I wouldn't just run away from the plantation. I would be building something to go back and free as many of those people as I can. And I think right now, just like you said, with the fiat system being slavery, right now that's what I'm doing every single day, is trying to get people off that plantation.
Absolutely, I love it. I think this was not a routine last time, and I introduced it later. And I now ask each and every one of my guests, what can we learn from you besides Bitcoin?
I love America. I love my country. My things is, I love God, family, my family, country, and then Bitcoin, in that order. And I try to be a principled person. I think I'm a helpful person. I have flaws, but overall, outside of Bitcoin, I think I just enjoy life more. I enjoy life. I love people. I'm a people's person. I love talking to people, whether it's about Bitcoin or not. I like to travel. I like good food. I like to eat, and I like to read a lot. I don't always just read about Bitcoin books. I read about different mindset books and how to be a better person and stuff like that. So, but I'm a big patriot of the United States of America. I really, really am very, very proud of this country. I'm also, as an African American male here in this country, I'm against the victim mentality here. A lot of people, especially in the Democrat Party, they'll try to keep the blacks on the quote unquote plantation, where they think that because you're a black man, you can't do certain things, and I'm just completely against that. I don't want to, go on a rant about that. But yeah, those are a few things about me that a lot of people outside of the Bitcoin stuff know about me.
And I think that's awesome. I think, and we have an end routine that fits really nicely to this podcast, where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the previous guest asked you a very complicated phrased a question, but basically he asked you, if you had the ability to direct the outcome, how Bitcoin is going to be adopted, how would you like to see it happen?
Well, we touched on that. That's a good question. I would like the United States of America to have the most Bitcoin. That's the end result. But I think I would love for us Bitcoiners to do what I just said: wear shirts, go talk about Bitcoin, not in a crazy, annoying way, but to get the adoption up as much as we can. Get a Bitcoin standard here in America. Change the U.S. dollar to a Satoshi-backed dollar. Move the decimal point back twice, and live a good life on the Bitcoin standard. So if I had to answer that question, I think I pretty much answered it throughout the video. But yeah, just make people aware of what the problem is with inflation, and just keep working hard at it, and take time within yourself, because you can only do what you can do personally. Develop yourself as much as you can. Get the old bad ideals out of your head about the financial system. Know that they lie to you. Do the best you can to learn what you can, and to teach others as much as you can, and to make sure that you're the leader when it comes to this Bitcoin new freedom money.
Awesome. Jerry, thank you so much for being on. Before I let you go, where can people find you, ask you questions, and reach out to you?
Well, thank you for having me, Robin. I appreciate it. Jerry Loves Freedom. Just go to YouTube, type in Jerry Loves Freedom. I do I got Twitter and all that stuff, but I'm really active on YouTube. I do, like I said, a daily show Monday through Friday. I give away Satoshis. I do a spin the wheel. I do trivia questions. I talk about the news. I cover some, Bitcoin basics. I cover some fundamentals of the old system that we're in before. And then every Saturday, I do a Satoshi Saturday, where I just strictly talk about Satoshis. It's all Signal. I'm up to, as of this recording, I'm up to episode number 60. So I've been doing it over a year. So yeah, type in Jerry Loves Freedom and you'll find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerry. It was a pleasure to having you on. Really cool. Thank you so much for your time. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye-bye.